Welcome, everyone, to the VBC Bible Institute and podcast, and welcome back to our course, A Journey Through the Bible. Now, in today's session, we are entering a transition in the book of Genesis. The book of Genesis, up to this point, we are in chapter 11. If you haven't been with us, we're in Genesis chapter 11. Up to this point, the book of Genesis has really focused on one kind of specific thing, all right? That's the best way I'm going to describe it right now. And where we are in Genesis chapter 11, we are transitioning from the focus being on that type of thing to something completely different. And I want to use this transition to try to challenge you to stop what you're doing today. And I want you to grab a piece of paper, and I want you on that piece of paper to divide the paper into two halves. So just draw a line right down from the top of the page to the bottom, right down the middle of the page. I want you to separate it into two columns. On one column at the top, I want you to write the word events. And the other side of the page, I want you to write the word life. All right? Events and life. All right, and I'm going to want you to use this piece of paper because you're going to be doing some self-examination. You're going to be looking into your past. You're going to be looking into your present, because I think that what the book of Genesis is demonstrating here is very important for us to understand and for us to apply in our lives, okay? So again, one piece of paper, draw a line right down the middle from top to bottom, so you're dividing it into two halves. On one side of the paper, you're calling it events. On the other side of the paper, you're calling it life. And you're going to understand that. If you remember kind of our introductory outline to the book of Genesis, you'll kind of know where I'm going with this. But even if you missed that, you're getting ready to understand it. And I hope this has a profound impact on your life, all right? Because I think this is very relevant, especially to what's going on in our life right now, okay? When I say our life, the life that we're living right now, right now, as I am speaking, all right, in 2020, this is very relevant to all of our lives. And in fact, I think it's relevant to everyone's life, no matter what year they hear this, because it's been true. It's true of every year, every decade, every generation. It is true. And it will all make sense in just a few minutes. All right. So let's remind ourselves. Genesis chapter 11. We looked at Genesis chapter 11, and we looked at verses 1 through 9. Genesis chapter 11, verses 1 through 9. And you'll remember that Genesis chapter 11, verses 1 through 9, gives us the account of the event of the Tower of Babel. Now, if you go from Genesis 1 to Genesis 11, you really have the focus on four major events, right? You have creation, you have the fall, you have the flood, and you have the Tower of Babel. So the way the narrative has been written in Genesis chapter 1 to Genesis chapter 11 to where we stopped is the focus is on events, right? Events. Keep that in mind. But all of a sudden, there's a transition that begins to happen. And the way this transition is set up, you end Genesis chapter 11 verse 9 with basically ending the focus on events by saying this: therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. Now again, Genesis chapter 11 should really be where Genesis 10 is, but you'll see why they did it this way. So there's the Tower of Babel, all right? That's the last major event in this section, all right? So you've got the creation, you got the fall, you got the flood, and you've got the tower. Now, the next verse, you see a major transition begins to happen. Look what happens. Genesis 11:10. These are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and begat Arphaxad 2 years after the flood. And Shem lived after he begat Arphaxad 500 years and begat sons and daughters. And then you have this lengthy genealogy. All right. And it could be quick. It could be easy for you just to overlook this. It's just names, right? And obviously I could pick out 3 names here and give you an assignment to do a biographical study. But I don't want to do that here, right? Because something of great significance is about to happen. Pay close attention. when you get down to verse 24, Genesis 11, verse 24, and Nahor lived 29 years and begat Terah. And Nahor lived and he begat Terah 119 years and begat sons and daughters. Now, please note, Nahor to Terah. And that Terah is very interesting because once you get to the name Terah, something's getting ready to happen, all right? All the focus has been on events, right? Once you get to Terah, now you've got this really like kind of very broad view of all of these names and all of these people. But once you get to Terah, then it's getting ready to really zoom in and really focus in. Look what happens, all right? So Terah lived 70 years and begat Abram. There you have it. Abram. You want to circle that. Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Now, these are the generations of Terah. Terah begat Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran begot Lot. Now, these are going to be significant names coming up. But please note, you've got Abram, you've got Nahor, Haran, and Haran begat Lot. And Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his nativity in Ur of the Chaldees. And Abram and Nahor took them wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Iscah. But Sarai was barren, and she had no child. Now, please note what just happened. All right, we have all of these names, and now all of a sudden we're given some details about their lives. Here's this woman, Sarai, the wife of Abram, and she's barren. She had no child. All right, that's all of a sudden it's getting into some personal details. Now look at what happens in verse 31. And Terah took Abram, his son, and Lot, the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarai, his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan, and they came unto Haran and dwelt there. And the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. So now you're giving some very specific information. Sarai wasn't able to bear a child. You have the movement of this family. And then when you turn your Bible to chapter 12, now the Lord had said unto Abram, stop right there. Chapter 11 transitions this focus off events to now the lives of one individual. Now, other individuals are going to come in. Other individuals are going to be a part of it. But the focus is on Abram and his life, his daily life. We've been taking a journey through major events. Now we're getting ready to begin a journey through the life of an individual. His perspective, how he sees things, the things that happen to him, how the choices he makes, the good he does, the bad he does. It's going to focus on the individual. And not only is that significant because we've been basically interpreting events. Now, you could say, obviously, other individuals have been mentioned up to this point. Obviously, Adam and Eve have been mentioned. Cain and Abel have been mentioned. Noah has been mentioned. Clearly, their lives are a part of it. But it almost seemed like the narrative was more focused on the event than the individual. But here, the focus is on the individual. It's like you have this genealogy, and then it begins to really zoom in, really to narrow in. Abram, Sarai, and then start chapter 12, Abram. And then that's where we're going to then take a journey with him. We've kind of worked our way through events. Now we're going to work our way through the life of an individual. Now, why is that significant? I want you to listen to me carefully. There are two aspects of your Christian life. There is the aspect of your Christian life where you have to deal with events. And then you have to deal with the reality of your daily life. And I want you to start thinking right now about some of the major events that have happened, right? Some of the major events that have happened and how you reflected your Christian life in dealing, handling, and thinking about those events, or how you failed to think and act biblically in light of those events. And then I want you to think about how your Christianity demonstrates itself in your daily life, in your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday life. Now, let me make it very clear. You have events, these big events, but your life is also made up of events as well. But those events that kind of make up your daily life, we're just going to include them in your daily life. I'm talking about these big events. Let me give you an example. All right. I can give you a number of examples, and I think this will be beneficial. All right. Let's go back to September the 11th, 2001. That is a major event, especially here in the United States of America, when terrorists basically attacked America, the World Trade Centers and New York City, the Pentagon. Yes, it felt like the whole world stopped, and it had a profound impact on the entire world. Now, guess what? When that happened, how did you respond to that from a biblical perspective? How did that event bring out your Christianity? How did you respond to it? What did you think about it? What did you think in regards to the way, because look, one of the major things that happened in our country is a lot of people wanted to basically start taking away religious liberty and religious freedom from those who practice the faith of Islam. They wanted to take it away. Well, if you start thinking about that, well, wait a minute. If we take away their freedom of religion, ultimately that could be used to take away our freedom of religion. All right, did you really use spiritual wisdom there, or did you start thinking? Did you start saying things about Islam that was slanderous and was not true and was not accurate? Did you start supporting ideas that may not even be biblical? Let me give you an example. Because of what happened on September the 11th, 2001, many Christians supported the United States of America basically invading Iraq on the pretense that they had weapons of mass destruction, even though Iraq was not involved in 9/11. But through a lot of ideas, a lot of Christians just said, yes, we should bomb them. We should take over because, they're bad and they're terrorists. And many Christians even cited 9/11 as somehow a support for this. Well, then it obviously was discovered they did not have the weapons of mass destruction that supposedly they had. Well, at that point, should Christians not go, wait a minute, I think this may have violated the just war doctrine. Like, did Christians think about what is the biblical approach to that entire subject? No, the event happened, and in many cases, our response to those events were not biblical, were not godly, were not thought out. That's just 9/11 and all the things that happened from 9/11. All right, we could think of some other major events. All right, the murder, the killing of George Floyd in Minnesota. Here's this African-American individual, this white cop, has his knee on this man's throat. He leaves, I think the knee is on there for 8 minutes and 32 seconds, if I remember correctly, and the man basically dies. And it creates an uproar in the United States of America about racial inequality, about racism, and that became a major event. There were protests. Some of those protests turned violent. It was a major event in the country. Well, how did you respond to that event? Did you demonstrate a biblical perspective? Did you demonstrate, truth? Did you not? Did you start considering the plight of people of a different race? Did you talk about love for other people? Did you talk about how to view race from a biblical perspective? How did you respond to that event? Or did you find yourself on social media saying things that wasn't very biblical and did not reflect Christianity in any way, shape, or form? Obviously, another major event that's still underway is the pandemic that we are facing in the year 2020. This COVID-19 situation that has spread around the world. Over 1 million people have died. Over 200,000 people have died in the United States of America. Hospitals around the country are full. There's lots of controversy about it. How did you respond to it? Have you responded to it in a biblical way? In other words, did the event bring out your Christianity? Or did the event reveal a lack of Christian thinking, a lack of a Christian perspective? Did it reflect a fleshly, earthly, worldly perspective? The election of 2020. Did everything leading up from 20? It felt like from the moment 2016 election was over, the election season started to get us to 2020. During this entire process, has this entire event, the election of Donald Trump, did you respond to that event in a biblical, godly way, or did you find yourself responding to this event in a very fleshly, cultural, like a political, hijacked way? What I want you to do is just think of major events that you have lived through. Can you honestly say that your response to that demonstrated Christ and his word? Or when people saw that, they didn't see Christ, they didn't see Christianity, they saw a Republican, they saw a Democrat, they saw a liberal, they saw a conservative, they saw someone from Texas versus someone from Seattle. They saw your background or your culture. They did not see Christ. The way you responded to George Floyd, did they see your race? That was more your race talking and your racial perspective, not your Christian perspective. See, there are major events that happen, and we never know when they're going to happen. Whenever a massive school shooting happens, and it's this big cultural event, are the next words out of your mouth Christian, or are the next words out of your mouth simply reflect that you are a card-carrying member of the NRA? Which is it? Which is it? I think sometimes the major events in life reflect the lack of true spirituality and true Christian thinking within the body of Christ. A major event, then Christians are out there on social media and we're typing away, post, send, and then we're commenting on everything else, and we're out there, and I think if you take all of the comments and all of the noise and you look at it, you're like, does that reflect Christianity? Does that reflect Scripture? Does that reflect the Bible? In many cases, what it reflects is a complete mishandling of God's word. So in Genesis, we had creation, we had the fall, we had the flood, and we had the tower. These major events occurred in your life and every generation. There are going to be major events. They can be political, they can be cultural, these major things, this major turning point in the way the world thinks, in the morality of the world. It can be a tragedy, it can be a positive, but these big things happen. And listen, when major events happen, everyone in the culture has an opinion and they begin to express their thinking about it. I think sometimes when we look back in church history, we're like, wow. Like, how did many Christians respond to the civil rights movement? Many Christians literally demonstrated a completely ungodly attitude towards the civil rights movement. Right? I mean, think slavery. That's a pretty major event in the history of the world. Many Christians did not respond to slavery anything close to a biblical way. I mean, just go through the Civil War. Did Christians respond to the Civil War in a biblical way? I mean, World War II. I mean, the Korean War, Vietnam. I mean, just name major events. I just think that sometimes when major events happen, and then you're like, what was when the historians look back and say, look at the major events that happened from, say, the year 2000 to the year 2020, from the year 2000 to the year 2020. Those major events, did Christians respond in a biblical way? Did you really get a biblical worldview if you take everything Christians were saying? Well, just look at COVID-19. What is the Christian worldview in regards to COVID-19? Christians can't even agree. Christians are attacking one another. Christians are fighting. Christians are throwing out conspiracy theories and every false information, misleading information, just craziness. How about the election of 2020 and now the controversy about, was the election stolen? Was there election fraud? What's the Christian response to it? What drives me crazy is you'll have a mass shooting where kids were slaughtered in a high school, horrific, or in a Walmart or wherever it may be. It's a horrific thing. And then sometimes the first thing Christians talk about is gun rights. Not the loss of human life, but gun rights. Or the first thing they decide to do is that they live in a state that has open carry. Well, there was a school shooting. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to Walmart and I'm going to wear 3 guns because I'm going to prove a point. What point are you trying to prove? You are a Christian. You need to be out there articulating a Christian perspective, a Christian view of life, of death, of evil, of sin, of murder. Sometimes, listen, our events are opportunities for us to ask ourselves, do we really think like Christians? Now, Genesis starts with events. Now it focuses in on the life of one individual, Abram, which will become Abraham. Now, so first I want you to think, just this is for your own personal edification. You want to send it to me, that's fine, but I want you to do it for yourself, all right? So I want you to list some major events that's happened in your life, all right? And I want you to really think about how did you react to these events? What did you do? What were the first words you spoke? Who did you talk to? What did you say? Try to think back. Now, maybe they go too far back and you can't remember, but try to think of the major events. What things have you said about these events? How did you respond to it? Did you respond with prayer and fasting? When was the last time a major event happened and you, instead of talking to anyone on social media or offering an opinion, you said, I'm going to spend, 6 hours praying and I'm going to fast for a day. I'm not going to have any food and I'm just going to focus on God praying for this. When was the last time you did that? Honestly. So events, I want you to consider some major events. You say, how many? At least 4 major events in your life. And just try to honestly articulate in your own words. I don't care if it's punctuated right, spelled right. That's irrelevant. Just articulate in your best recollection. You may have to ask, someone in your family, hey, you remember when that event occurred? How did I respond to that? Do you remember what I said? Now, sometimes you'll ask your kids and they'll say, oh, you said this. And you may go, oh, whoa, that wasn't very biblical. And that will be an opportunity to tell your kids to say, I was wrong. That wasn't very godly. All right. We've all responded to events in unbiblical ways. I know I have. All right. I can't be the only one, but events are opportunity for us to see how we respond. Then we go from the event to the life of an individual. Here we have Terah, we have Abram, we have his wife, Sarai, who is barren. We have these individuals. Now, here's the thing. How does your daily life reflect your Christianity? Now, here, the first issue is, how do these events reflect your Christian life? How does your Christian life show up in the dealing with these events? Major events, all right? Then secondly, how does your Christian life, how does your Christianity show up in your daily life? Now, that daily life, there are small events, significant events that happen in your life. We're talking major events like global events, okay, versus when we talk about the individual events that happen in your life, we're going to just include that in your daily life. But here's the thing. How does your Christianity show up just in an average week? A Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, a Thursday, a Friday, a Saturday, a Sunday. How does it show up? We're getting ready to begin a journey with Abraham, and we're going to see how his daily life, how his the things that happen in his life, how they reflect his faith or how they reflect his failure. And guess what? It's not going to be perfect. We're going to see ups and we're going to see downs. We're going to see times of great faith, and we're going to see times going, what is Abram doing here? What is Abraham doing here? What's going on? And that's the way we are confronted with events. We will either reflect a Christian thinking or we will reflect a worldly thinking. Then every day we wake up, our lives either reflect our faith or it reflects a lack thereof. So I want you to think of 4 major events and how you responded to them. And then I just want you to just try to articulate, how does your Christianity show itself in your daily life? In your daily life. Now, I could say, write down some events in your life and how your Christianity shows up, but I just want you to just really think about, how does it show up? It's hard sometimes to think about how I think we take our daily life just for granted, but our Christian life should reflect through it and in it and above it and around it. If our Christian faith is genuine, it should show up in our Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It should show up. I'll give you an example of how in my daily life today, my Christianity did not show up. All right, I'll give you an example. I got in my car to drive to the church. And on the way to the church, there's this kind of an intersection where it's kind of a mess right now with road construction, right? They're building an overpass. You got these just stop signs thrown kind of here in the middle of the highway. There's construction everywhere. It's just a mess. So you have to kind of be really careful trying to get there. Well, this truck comes flying up behind me. He had to be doing 75, and the speed limit's posted as 40, I think 45. He's got flying. I thought he was going to hit me. He goes flying past me. And then he has to slam on the brakes at the stop sign. I don't know how he can't see the stop sign coming up, can't see the road construction, but he almost slides right through it. And it's like crazy. And my first reaction wasn't a godly one. I basically was like, jerk, you stinking jerk. What was that? I know you can sit there and condemn me, but I'm just being honest. That's how I thought. So we started driving, or I got ready to take off. And as soon as that guy stopped and realized he could go, he took off. I mean, he went flying. I mean, he left that stop sign probably trying to go 0 to 60 as fast as he could. He was gone. I mean, he took off. He was out of my view and within probably a minute or less. I couldn't even see him. So I take off. It's 45, then it goes up to 60, then 65. I get up to 65, and up ahead, I see the lights from a highway patrol officer. And so I'm like, okay, he's over in the right lane. Let me move over to the left here. And I get closer and I get closer, and guess what I see? That truck that almost hit me, that truck that I said jerk, he was pulled over by the cops. And guess what I did? You think I was like, man, that could be, like I feel bad for the individual because the ticket's expensive. No, I started laughing. I wanted to slow down and go, you got what you deserve, jerk. Well, if everyone got what they deserve, okay, what about mercy? What about grace? Now, yes, the guy was driving extremely reckless, and he did deserve to get pulled over. I'm not saying he didn't, but I'm just saying I should not necessarily rejoice in other people's misfortune, even though it was brought about on themselves, because I have brought along misfortune upon myself, and I hope other people don't rejoice in my misfortune. Yes, he got what he deserved, but I still feel bad that, hey, he's now got this big ticket coming up on the holidays. It's not, not probably a good thing, but yeah, he did it upon himself. But I almost rejoiced in his misfortune. I almost rejoiced in him getting what he deserves. Well, if I rejoice in him getting what he deserves, then I should rejoice in me getting what I deserve. You see, that's not really necessarily a Christian attitude, right? There's not really a Christian. In other words, I wasn't balanced in my perspective there. He made me mad, and now he was experiencing a misfortune, and I rejoiced in it. I took pleasure in it, and that's not godly. See, so right there in my daily life, just on a normal drive on a Sunday, I did not reflect a godly attitude. I did not. Now, I wish I could give you an example where I reflected a godly attitude, but I didn't. So that's the first example I can think of, because that literally happened just less than an hour ago. So in Genesis, we have events which transition into the focus on the life of Abraham. And I think that this kind of serves as the way your life works. In your life, you're going to be confronted with major events. Maybe earth-wide events, global events, a country, statewide, whatever. There's going to be a major event. Now, as soon as that event happens, this is the opportunity for your Christianity to rise up and show itself in the way you respond, the way you think, what you speak, what you do, what you don't do. And sometimes what we do in those events is we don't show Christianity in any way, shape, or form. So many Christians have responded to the COVID-19 situation not demonstrating godliness. 1 million people have died. Nah, I don't believe it. I've never seen a death certificate, but I don't believe it. I think it's all a hoax. Okay, well, that's godly? You're going to go look in the eyes of family members someone who died and say, you know what? I don't really think it's that big a deal. Really? That's godly? Or a massive school shooting happens and you want to start arguing about guns? That's the Christian perspective? Really? So sometimes you reflect something other than Christianity. And then in your daily life, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, how you respond to your kids, how you deal with your husband, how you deal with a frustration, how you deal with how did your Christian life reveal itself? Okay, I'm recording this on a Sunday. How did your Christianity show itself in your the day you lived Saturday, yesterday, the day before today, or whatever day it is that you hear this, the day before the day you're listening to this? How did your Christianity show itself? Really think about some hardcore specific examples. Well, I went to work, my boss did this, and I responded this way. That showed my Christianity. Or, man, I responded this, and that didn't show my Christianity. Christianity, your Christian life, is not lived in a vacuum. Your Christianity is lived in the course of events and in the course of a day. There's daily life. That's where your Christianity shows up. And then your Christianity shows up in the midst of large events. Genesis has given us 4 major events. Now we've come down, and just note the way that text, let me just show you again in Genesis 11. I just love the way it works. Genesis chapter 11. I know it's just a lot of names, and you may not think anything about it, but I just want you to see how it starts. And Terah lived 70 years and begot Abram. Okay, mentions the name Nahor and Haran. Now, these are the generations of Terah. Terah begat Abram, Nahor, and Haran begat Lot, and Haran died before his father, Taran, in the land of his nativity, in the Ur of the Chaldees. Starts giving you these very specific details about these people. Abram and Nahor took them wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife, Milcah, the daughter of Haran, and the father of Milcah, and the father of Iscah. But Sarai was barren. She had no child. She's giving you these very specific details. And Terah took Abram, his son, and Lot, the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarai, his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went forth with them from the Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan, and they came unto Haran and dwelt there. And the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. And then immediately in chapter 12, verse 1, now the Lord had said unto Abram. Now at some point in the midst of all of these people, God steps in and speaks directly to Abram, telling him to get out of your country, from your kindred, from your father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. And then this begins the journey of Abraham's daily life. Now, in that daily life, there's going to be events, obviously, but there's those events that happen in your life and my life, and then there's those big events that impact all kinds of people's lives. So, how has your Christianity manifested itself in dealing with major events, and how does your Christianity manifest itself in the daily life? And just look at the last few days or the last few weeks and pick some specific examples of where your Christianity showed up or where your Christianity failed to show up. Right? This is very practical, but going through the Bible, it doesn't need, if it's just academic, then we don't gain it. It's got to be practical. And I think this is a good time to really consider this. All right? If you have any questions, if you have any thoughts, email me, newsif@yahoo.com, newsif@yahoo.com. That's newsif@yahoo.com. All right, there you go. We'll begin Genesis 12 in our next session. Everyone have a great day. God bless.